Here is the scoop on the 120 best Hallmark movies to watch now. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Sarah Scoop channel. Everyone knows Hallmark's Christmas movies, but Hallmark doesn't just do Christmas. Hallmark movies are some of the best feel-good movies to curl up with. There's always a variety of themes and holidays like Christmas and romance. Hallmark romance movies are some of the top Hallmark movies. Most movies are based on love, family and friends. They make you laugh, cry, and think about life itself. Curl up on the couch and pick a movie from this list of 120 of the best Hallmark movies to date. 120. Angel and the Bad Men. John Wayne's grandson, Brendan Wayne, stars in the remake of the iconic movie. The movie centers around an injured gunfighter seeks shelter in a Quaker family's home. This Old West movies kicks off our list of best Hallmark movies. 119. For Better or for Worse. Wendy, a wedding coordinator, lost her husband and begins to settle down when she meets Marco, a divorce attorney. When their children become a couple, Wendy also realizes her connection to Marco. 118. Dear Dumb Diary. Jamie navigates middle school in the movie based on the best-selling novels by Jim Benton. Jamie details her adventures with her best friend, her enemy, and her crush. 117. Falling for Look. Lodge. Noah lost a connection with his sister, Justine, whose wedding is coming up, so he checks into a remote lodge. Lily, an event planner, is thrilled to help Noah finish planning his sister's wedding. 116. Family Plan. Charlie tries to impress her new boss, who is a family man, and she has to lie after he spots a wedding ring that she got stuck on her finger. So, she hires Buck to pretend to be her husband and keep up the lie. Tori Spelling's lead makes this one of the best Hallmark movies. 115. Follow Me to Daisy Hills. Joe's family store in Daisy Hills is losing money and she's looking for every option to solve their financial problems. Her dad calls Joe's ex-boyfriend for help and they must come together to save the store. 114. Battle of the Bulbs. Bob Wallace is known around the neighborhood for his extravagant Christmas display. This year he notices his new neighbor has an even bigger and brighter display, so the race is on for the best Christmas display in the neighborhood. 113. Before You Say I Do. Mike's bride-to-be gets cold feet before their wedding, and in a desperate plea to save his marriage he's sent back in time. Mike's mission is to save his bride from her previously failed marriage. 112. Citizen Jane. This true story follows Jane Alexander, who is determined to solve the murder of her beloved aunt. Detective Jack mentions to Jane that her boyfriend may be a suspect and enlists Jane help to solve the case. True crime and true stories make this one of the best Hallmark movies. 111. Audrey's Reign. Audrey grieves her sister after her death but must take care of her niece and nephew and other grieving family members. Audrey struggles to keep it together, but then she meets her old sweetheart. 110. Beverly Hills Wedding. Molly, a wedding photographer, enters her younger sister and her fiancé into a contest and won a dream wedding. The Beverly Hills wedding seems to be going smoothly until Molly learns her ex-boyfriend will be the best man. 109. Be My Valentine. Dan Farrell is a firefighter and single father looking for love. Local florist Kate has been asked to help set up and Dan takes an interest, but Kate's ex might ruin their relationship. 108. Bridal Fever. Romance novelist, Dahlia Marchand, promises to help her editor and her friends find husbands in 6 months. Despite her track record of ex-husbands, she sets out on a mission to put an end to the bridesmaid dresses and help her friends get into bridal gowns. 107. The Convenient Groom. Kate Lawrence, a marriage counselor for celebrities, plans to have a publicized wedding but gets left at the altar. Lucas steps in and proposes to be her replacement groom. Find out if they fall in love in this top Hallmark movie. 106. Fielder's Choice. Philip Fielder, a businessman, learns that his sister has passed and that he now has custody of her autistic 8-year-old son. Philip must step out of businessman ways and step into his new role as a father. This feel-good story about a father and a son makes the list for best Hallmark movies. 105. All's Fair in Love and Advertising. A successful advertiser, Tom, loses his job because he is not the young man he used to be. He hires a con man to be his copywriter and even cons art director, Harriet Fellows. 104. Backyard Wedding. Kim Tyler has her life set with a loving fiancé and a wedding in her parents' backyard. The problem is her ex-husband's parents live next door and he keeps popping up, making Kim second-guess her feelings. 103. Banner 4th of July. Desiree Banner and her siblings were a rock band before Desiree decided to leave the band and has struggled since then to find her sound. 15 years later, her mother decides to try and bring the band back together, but Desiree must solve some issues between her and her brothers. 102. Dear Prudence McCoy, an advice columnist, goes on a vacation to a small town where her mother stayed. She becomes involved in a murder mystery and she uses her knowledge in tips and tricks to help solve it. 101. All Yours. Cass is a single mother who needs a new nanny to watch her children after the last one quit. Matthew applies to be her nanny after trying to prove to his dad that he can settle down and handle domestic life. This unlikely transition into domestic life may bring these two together in one of the best Hallmark movies. 100. Angel in the family. In this Hallmark Christmas movie, two estranged sisters come together after their father suffers from a stroke and the family is still reeling after the loss of their mother. After one of the daughters makes a wish for her mom, their deceased mother shows up to mend the family. 99. Bad Date Chronicles. Leigh runs a blog where people can post about horrible dates that they have had. Connor runs a rival blogging site and he ends up on Leigh's website as a bad date. They decide to date each other and find out who is a worse date. 98. Dad's home. Ben Westman loses his job as an executive at an advertising firm and he must learn to adapt to his newfound domestic life. This includes getting involved in his kids' lives and navigating boundaries. 97. Dater's Handbook. The Duchess of Sussex stars as Cass, who has trouble dating and finally turns to a self-help book to find a nice guy. The handbook is more than helpful when Cass finds herself having to choose between two guys. 96. Falling in love with the girl next door. Betsy Lucas and Bridget Connolly are feuding while their husbands gold together behind their backs. Bridget's daughter moves back to town after a breakup and reconnects with Betsy's son, which might just end the family feud in this Hallmark movie. 95. Fit for a Prince. Fashion designer Cindy has to design wedding gowns for a wealthy family and their charity gala. One of the royal guests attending the charity event falls smitten with Cindy and she might find her happily ever after. 94. Fixing Pete. Ashley works as a fashion editor and has a column where she does makeovers. Her next makeover is a misogynistic sports writer and they begin to realize first impressions are not always correct. 93. Hearts of Spring. The last of Carly's children are moving out and she faces a reader who has conflicting opinions on Carly's advice blog. She begins dating a single dad and is surprised to learn that he may be the confrontational reader. 92. Love Again. Chloe and her husband are planning their daughter's wedding, but little does everyone know their marriage might be ending. She and her husband try to hide their separation but might rekindle their romance during the wedding planning. 91. Daniel's daughter. In this Hallmark movie, Daniel Madigan was forced to give up his daughter Kate after the death of her mother and she grew up to be a magazine editor in New York. When her father dies, Kate returns to the small town and confronts her feelings about her father. 90. Bound by a Secret. Jane and Ida May have been friends forever and things become difficult when Jane learns she has cancer. They are inspired to make the most of the time they have left, but some ghosts from the past may threaten the relationship. 89. Hearts Down Under. Caroline Wilson moves from New York to Australia after she inherits a cafe in Lemon Myrtle Cove. The restaurateur falls in love with the small town and even more so with the head chef, Simon. 88. Accidentally in Love. Eddie, an actor, tried to land a more prestigious role after playing a bunny on a TV show, but his chance gets ruined after a car accident. He befriends the single mother and daughter in the accident and may even fall in love. 87. At home in Mitford. In an attempt to get over her writer's block, Cynthia ends up in the small town of Mitford. While in town she meets the handsome priest who lives next door, who happens to be an eligible bachelor. 86. A crush on you. Ben has a crush on Chloe and he decides to anonymously profess his love for her through email. Charlie, Chloe's worker, has a similar email address and accidentally receives Ben's love emails. Watch this muddled romance play out in one of the best Hallmark movies. 85. Date with Love. In an attempt to salvage her reputation, actress Alex Allen attends a local high school prom after being asked by a student. Davis has been denied by almost every girl at school and decides to send a promposal video to Alex, so they team up to help each other. 84. Eat, Play, Love Veterinarian. Carly Munro returns home and visits the local dog shelter where she runs into her high school sweetheart. Carly realizes she's still in love with him, but he will be marrying a diva fiancé. 83. A Feeling of Home. Abby, a web entrepreneur from the Northeast, moves home to Texas to help her father at his ranch. She soon finds out her former boyfriend works as the ranch manager and must choose between Texas and the Northeast after they reconnect. 82. I Married Who? Jordan Brady goes to Las Vegas to celebrate her bachelorette party and she ends up having more of a wild night than expected. Her husband finds out she got married to a celebrity, Matt, at an Elvis wedding. 81. Kiss at Pine Lake. As young kids, Luke and Zoe promised to stay in touch at camp, but they lost touch and reconnect 15 years later. They meet again because Luke invests in the camp and unknown to him, but Zoe wants to turn the property into a resort. 80. Always and Forever. In this Hallmark movie, Grace and Michael were high school sweethearts and broke up when Grace moved off to college. At their 20-year reunion, Grace and Michael reconnect and try to rekindle their romance. 79. Away and Back. A wildlife biologist ends up on a single father's farm after tracking a family of trumpeter swans to his pond. Initially, they clash before coming together and finding romance. 78. A Brush with Love. Jamie is an art teacher in Seattle and struggles with her own success as an art. After failing to submit an art piece for the Cherry Blossom Festival, Jamie finds herself looking for love, but finds herself stuck between two men. 77. Destination Wedding. Alexa Peña Vega stars as Ellie, who must find her little sister and fiancé as their wedding takes place in Acapulco. She teams up with her ex-boyfriend and best man, Greg, to find them in time for the nuptials. 76. For the Love of Grace. A young firefighter suspended from the station and saves a young woman, Grace, from the fire. Grace helps him get over his deceased wife, Molly. Find love again with this Hallmark movie for the ages. 75. From Friend to Fiance. Jess and Ted's friendship may be at risk when Ted gets engaged to the high school mean girl and asks Jess to plan the wedding. Jess must decide between staying quiet and telling Ted about her feelings for him. 74. I do. Jacqueline, an architect, decides to face her biggest fears after having her wedding day go wrong. In the process, she realizes her real hopes and dreams with the help of her fiancé's brother. 73. Unleashing Mr. Darcy. In this Pride and Prejudice spin-off, Elizabeth Scott takes the opportunity to show off her Cavalier King Charles Spaniel in the New York City dog show. Donovan Darcy, a judge, complicates things with his rude demeanor, but they overcome their misunderstandings and come together. 72. Adventures in Love and Babysitting. A couple decides to play matchmaker when they need a babysitter to watch their two children. The couple brings together Maggie and Alex, who have been sworn enemies since college. 71. Appetite for Love. Mina travels to her hometown in Tennessee to rebrand a restaurant for her company, but she must convince the old owner to sell the property. The problem with her hometown means her ex-boyfriend still lives there. 70. Baby, It's Cold Inside. In this Hallmark movie, Hannah's tropical trip gets changed last minute by her boss, who sends her to review the famous ice hotel. She meets one of the hotel's owners and they pair up to impress trip reviewers. 69. The Baker's Son. A small island on Puget Sound struggles to keep up financially and relies on the family-owned restaurants, McBride's Diner and Duval Boulangerie. When Matt Duval, the talented baker, loses his touch, the townspeople are on a mission to find him to bring the talent back. 68. Cloudy with a Chance of Love. Deb, a meteorologist, longs to pursue her PhD and must choose between her current job as her local news channel's weather girl and her chance at a fellowship. 67. Christmas at Pemberley Manor. Elizabeth, a New York event planner, plans to have a holiday festival in a small, quaint town, but she learns that her venue may be sold. William Darcy, a billionaire, hates Christmas but meets his match when Elizabeth is determined to have her party at his venue. 66. Come Dance at My Wedding. Sid Merriman has a father she never knew and she comes face to face with him just before her wedding. Her father, Tanner, on the other hand, was surprised to learn that he had a daughter after the death of his ex-wife. Together they face the hardships of being out of each other's lives for so long. 65. Fashionably Yours Lauren hates the city, and after she becomes sick of her job she decides to move out of Seattle to go home. The mover she hired has a different plan for her and shows her around the city trying to change her mind. 64. In my dreams Nick and Natalie are sick of love and happen to throw coins into a magical fountain at the same time. They dream of each other and have a week to make that dream come true. Katharine McPhee stars in one of the best Hallmark movies about love and fate. 63. In the Key of Love Maggie reconnects with an old flame, Jake, when photographing his sister's wedding. The old couple used to be wedding singers together and sparks fly when they sing a duet at the wedding. 62. A Kiss at Midnight Susan has a matchmaking business and signs up for a dating site to prove her ways are better. Instead, she finds a match with Josh, who was signed up by his own children hoping to find a stepmother. 61. True Love blooms Vicky, a gardener, fights to save the community garden from being developed by a real estate manager. After clashing many times, Vicky and the real estate manager are surprised to find romantic feelings between them. 60. Autumn dreams Ben and Annie were young lovers that eloped and eventually were annulled by their disappointed parents. 15 years late they discover the annulment was never finalized and come together again to legitimize it. 59. Campfire Kiss Dana, a single mom, takes her son on a camping trip so that they can bond and step out of their comfort zone. At the camp, she meets a single father and they clash at first before getting along. Gather your family members and bond over this Hallmark movie. 58. Chasing a Dream Cam Stiles, a football player, loses his best friend after he was killed running home at night. Struck by grief, Cam decides to fulfill his friend's dream of running a 4-minute mile. His quest to reconnect with his lost friend may just tear him away from his own father. 57. Elevator Girl, a self-centered lawyer only dates women to boost his career and social status, meets a working-class girl in an elevator. His secretary encourages him to date her and sparks fly after a few dates. 56. Forever in my heart, Jenna and Charlie fell in love when they were in Ireland, but they separated to pursue their careers. They come back together after 5 years in Ireland and Jenna has to decide between home and Charlie. 55. Freshman father high school sweethearts, John and Kathy, got pregnant in high school and now they're in college. Kathy leaves John and their child behind at Harvard, forcing John to take on single fatherhood while being a student. 54. Harvest Love Luna is spending time at her family's pear farm hoping to reconnect with her son. She falls in love with farm life and falls in love with the farm manager. 53. Harvest Moon. In this fall-themed Hallmark movie, Jessie tries to help her family fix up the pumpkin farm that is going bankrupt. Her father bought it as an investment and in the process, she might just find love. 52. Once upon a Prince Nate and Susanna meet on the side of the road when she has a flat tire and they spark a romance, but he doesn't mention that he is royalty. Susanna is shocked to discover his coronation in the papers and Nate's mother doesn't think it's suitable for him to marry a commoner. 51. Over the Moon in Love. Brooklyn owns a matchmaking business that is going to be featured in a magazine by journalist Stephanie Carlton. She has to set her friend Devin up with Stephanie for this to work out and to save her business. 50. Sand Dollar Cove. Chad Michael Murray stars as Brody, a handsome local trying to protect the beloved pier from being destroyed by Ellie, the real estate manager. Ellie works with Brody to find a better solution to establish a resort and keep the pier. 49. All Things Valentine Avery has a hard time with Valentine's Day and she is less than thrilled when she has to write a column for Valentine's Day. A newly single veterinarian might just make writing this column easier for Avery. 48. Anything for Love. A high-powered executive creates a dating profile and downgrades her occupation to intimidate men. Meanwhile, a male nurse upgrades his dating profile to doctor, and the two match. This unlikely match will come together in one of the best Hallmark movies. 47. All summer long. Tia, a Seattle lawyer, decides to take a break from her cases and travels to San Francisco to help her uncle and aunt, who work on a vintage yacht. Tia loves sailing and dreams of having a blissful summer at sea until her ex-boyfriend comes into the picture. 46. Bridal Wave Georgie travels to a romantic resort just before her wedding where she begins to second-guess her engagement. At the resort, she meets Luke and they share a connection that makes Georgie consider calling off her wedding. 45. Flip that Romance Jules and Lance are rival house flippers, but when they each own half of a duplex they start a contest. They might change their feelings for each other trying to win a magazine spread. 44. Generation gap. Dylan is a troubled teenager and after he gets in another fight at school, he's sent off to his grandpa's for the summer. The two discover they are completely different and it teaches them both an important lesson. 43. Growing. The Big One Shannen Doherty stars as Emma who inherits a farm from her grandfather. The problem is the farm has a considerable amount of debt, so Emma enters the local pumpkin growing competition. Fall into the season and carve some pumpkins while you watch this Hallmark movie. 42. Just add romance. Kelly and Jason are rival cooks competing on a cooking show for a chance at winning their very own restaurant. After spending so much time together, the rivals discover they may not be as different as they think. 41. Lovelock's journalist Lindsay Wilson gets offered to go international to Paris with her magazine along with her daughter who is taking classes there. She runs into Jack, an old friend. They had a romance for the ages and placed a lock on the bridge over the Seine, but it fell into the water. 40. Mending fences. Kelly Faraday was passed up for the promotion to anchorwoman, so she decides to head back to her family farm with her daughter. She and her family try to rebuild their farm during a drought and hold off the company that wants to build a casino on their land. 39. The Nanny Express. After their mother died, David's kids scare off every new nanny they get, but soon they meet their match. When Kate comes into the picture and forms a connection with David, the kids go on a mission to get rid of her and set him up with someone else instead. 38. A winter princess. Carly hides her princess past from everyone, even Jessie, with who she is planning the Snowdon Peaks snowball. No investors are interested in the ball, so they might have to turn her royal family for help to save the fundraiser. Royalty and winter are some of the best features in this Hallmark movie. 37. Autumn in the Vineyard. Frankie and Nate both dream of turning Sorrento Ranch into an award-winning winery, but they don't trust each other after an awkward kiss. They have to cooperate to bring their dream to life and may just fall in love. 36. The Art of Us. In an attempt to land a tenured position at Boston College, Dr. Harper set up an art showcase, but her showcase artist cancels last minute. Her dog walker, Tom Stone, comes to the rescue when he is secretly an amazing painter. 35. Chance at Romance. Samantha has been on many blind dates that didn't work out well, and in a desperate attempt, a trip to a photo gallery compels her to email the photographer, which is intercepted by the photographer's son. He tries to set them up on a date and the truth comes out. 34. Christmas in Evergreen. Ally Shaw is moving to Washington, D.C. from Evergreen, Vermont to reconnect with her boyfriend and fix their relationship. She runs into Ryan and Zoe Bellamy, who stopped in Evergreen on the way to Florida. Ryan and Ally's connection may just throw everyone's travel plans off. 33. The beach house. In this Hallmark movie, Kara moved away from her small town and troubled family for a job in Chicago, but when she loses that job she has to move back. She reconnects with her mother, her ex-boyfriend, and along the way saves some baby turtles. 32. Chasing Waterfalls. Amy works for a travel magazine and craves a more creative outlet, so when she gets a chance to go on assignment to photograph Pinewood Lakes, she meets her tour guide, Mark, where a mutual feeling develops, but they run into some trouble with a fellow tour guide. 31. Falling in. Radio manager, Lacey, meets Zach, a stuck-up businessman, who can't seem to let loose and have fun. She makes him help her with the bake-off that will help save her radio station from going out of business. 30. A harvest wedding. Things become messy for Sarah Bloom, a wedding planner, who is planning the biggest wedding of the season, but it's on her family farm in her hometown. While planning the wedding, Sarah has to deal with the bride's older brother who happens to be her ex-boyfriend. 29. Royal Matchmaker. This royal romance makes this one of the best Hallmark movies. Kate was hired by a king to find the prince a wife, and she sets out to find the perfect girl in time. Soon she finds the perfect woman, but she realizes all the time she spent with the prince made her fall in love with him. 28. A Royal Christmas. Lacey Chabert stars as Emily Taylor, an American seamstress brought home by her fiancé Leo, Prince of Cordelia. The queen is shocked by this and tries to get rid of Emily and marry her son to an aristocrat. 27. All for Love. After romance novelist Joe Parker messes up about a novel on firefighters, her editor sends her to a Navy SEAL boot camp. While doing research for her new novel, Jo develops a relationship with her instructor. 26. All of My Heart. In love, Jenny and Brian are complete opposites, and together they inherit an inn together. The couple is now engaged and navigate preparing the bed and breakfast for its grand opening. 25. Back to You and Me. Dr. Sydney Ludwig loses one of her beloved patients to cancer and dumps her unsupportive boyfriend. She decides to take some time off and attends her high school reunion where she collides with old friends and memories. 24. Cooking with Love. This top Hallmark movie combines a love for cooking and romance. Kelly produces a cooking show called Little Gourmet for kids, but she has to find a replacement when her chef becomes injured. To save the show in hopes of a promotion, Kelly must get along with troublesome replacement chef, Steven. 23. A Dash of Love. Nikki started her job at her idol's restaurant, but quickly clashes with the executive chef and gets fired after the boss steals Nikki's recipes. The executive chef and Nikki come together to start their own restaurant and prove they have better food than their former employer. 22. Frozen in Love. Mary and hockey player, Adam, are set up to help fix their images by their PR managers. Mary is hoping to save her store and Adam is trying to fix his reputation, so they might find love in the process. 21. A Gift to Remember. Darcy hit a pedestrian on her bicycle, causing him to lose his memory and end up in the hospital. Her guilt compels her to visit him in the hospital and take care of him. They bond as he tries to get back to his old life and figure out who he is. 20. The Note. A newspaper columnist discovers a note that was intended for the child of one of the passengers that died in a plane crash. She goes on a journey to return the note but discovers more about herself in the process. 19. Pearl in Paradise. A magazine photographer and author travel to Fiji to find the blue pearl that the author, Colin Page, wrote about in his novel. They both are hoping that finding the blue pearl will give their careers the boost it needs. The beautiful sights make this one of the best Hallmark movies. 18. Accidental Friendship. The story of an unlikely friendship between a homeless woman and a police officer is based on a true story. These unlikely friends form a bond after sharing a similar emotional past. 17. The Birthday Wish. Gwen, a control freak, mapped out her life and some things may not go according to plan when she expects her boyfriend to propose before she turns 30. Then, Gwen has a vision of her life and it's not the way she expected it to turn out. 16. Don't Go Breaking My Heart. Miranda runs a breakup boot camp that has become a new phenomenon in Portland, Oregon. Ben, a new client, is an investigative reporter pretending to be broken-hearted and secretly reports on the boot camp. 15. Matching Hearts. Matchmaker Julia decides to sign Daniel up for her matchmaking service because of his insistence on staying single. He's reluctant to join, but as they begin to work together to find the perfect match they might discover they are the perfect couple. 14. Paris, Wine and Romance. Emily enters into a Paris competition confident in her family's wine from Oregon. During the competition, she meets her competitor Jacques and they develop a romance over their love of wine. Take a swig and dive into this Hallmark movie. 13. Annie's Point. Betty White plays Annie Eason, a widow, determined to scatter her husband's ashes on their 50th anniversary. Her reluctant granddaughter tags along for the journey. 12. A Country Wedding. When it comes to romantic movies, Hallmark does it best. Country music star, Bradley Sutton, plans to marry his movie star girlfriend, but he visits his hometown before the wedding. While he's there selling his family's home, he reconnects with an old friend. 11. Double Holiday. A restructuring of the developing firm Rebecca works at has her working alongside her enemy Chris. The duo plan the holiday party and Rebecca has to balance it alongside Hanukkah. 10. Falling for Vermont. Best-selling author, Angela, tries to get away from her inattentive boyfriend and goes for a drive. She loses her memory and ends up in a small town in Vermont with the town doctor. Angela's hoping she can find her way back in this Hallmark movie. 9. Just My Type. Vanessa, a writer, goes on assignment to rural Washington to interview a mysterious author, Martin. Martin pushes back on the interview, but eventually warms up and the pair end up closer than they expected. 8. Love on the Air. Nick and Sonia are radio personalities and complete opposites that are put together for one show. The audience loves to hear them go at each other on the air, but all the arguing might calm down when the two find common ground. 7. All of My Heart, the first movie of the series where Jenny inherits Emily's inn and it changes her life forever. She meets Brian, a Wall Street trader, and must learn to share it with him and navigate their differences. 6. Sweet Carolina Josie, a marketing executive based in New York, moves home to North Carolina to take care of her niece and nephew after her sister died. As Jose navigates her new parenthood situation, she also reconnects with her old boyfriend, Cooper. 5. All of My Heart, the wedding you can never have enough of Lacey Chabert to make the best Hallmark movies. In the sequel to In Love, Jenny and Brian are ready to get married after embracing the town. An old family member comes into town and tries to claim the inn from the couple. 4. As luck would have it, Lindsay Johnson is relocated to a small coastal town in Ireland where she must establish a resort. When the townspeople are reluctant to her venture, Lindsay sets out to join the town festivities and win them over. 3. Bottled with love. After being disheartened by love, Abby decides to write her feelings and send them in a bottle out to sea. That bottle ends up on the coast of Maine. Nick finds the bottle. The catch is Nick is the son of the CEO where Abby works. 2. Taking a shot at love. Alexa Peña Vega stars as a professional dancer using ballet to help hockey player, Ryan, get back on the ice. He helps her mend her broken heart and the two must decide where their paths will lead them. You can never go wrong with romance Hallmark movies. 1. Hachi. A Dog's Tale. This classic movie is an adaptation of the Japanese version of a true story. Parker Wilson adopts a lost puppy and every day when he commutes home the Akita waits for him even after he dies. This movie was bought by Hallmark and topped the list as one of the best Hallmark movies. Thank you so much for watching. Visit sarahscoop.com for more of the scoop on your favorite things.